All right. Hey, Vikings fans, welcome into another episode of the Skol Hop. I'm Evan.
And I'm Austin.
We're just a couple of dudes. We like drinking beer and we like talking about the Vikings.
Yeah, we do.
Skol.
Skol.
And we have a nice little tradition that we've continued on our show. We like to only drink beers brewed in Iowa. Now, that's not to say that we don't drink beer that's only brewed in Iowa outside of this.
Oh, yeah.
But when we're recording, when we're sitting in these chairs, we're talking about the Vikings. We've made it our concerted effort to drink only Iowa beer.
And I think between all the beers and breweries currently out there and any of our own personal efforts, between all of that, we shouldn't ever run out of Iowa beers. We may get to the point where we are scraping the bottom of the barrel and drinking some like pickle sour or something, but darn it, there's always going to be new beers. So
That's right.
And the brewery that we are drinking today, Five Cities, they just recently, in the last few weeks of real time, I'm not sure when this episode's going to get released, but not terribly long ago, they just released their own new beer in the, what is it? The Bad Boy IPA?
The Big Boy.
The Big Boy IPA.
Big Boy.
And I've tried that, and it's really good. So I don't know if you've tried it yet, but you should check it out. You should check it out. It's pretty good.
We need to go together.
Yeah, we do. We do.
That'd be fun. Business meeting.
But until then, tonight, we can enjoy Five Cities Bulldog Blonde Ale. It's what I picked out tonight. We did do a TikTok, which they'll be released in tandem pretty much. You can see our initial thoughts on this beer. My initial thought is that this is a classic. When I think of Five Cities beer, this is one of the very few beers that I immediately think of. They've got a long list of great beers, but this Bulldog Blonde Ale is it's a nice, easy drinker. It's a classic. I like it a lot. What do you think so far?
I've had it many times, and I agree with you. It's a classic. It just kind of sits nicely in that blonde ale category. Mm-hmm. And I have my go-to, and in fact, maybe one of these days when we record, I will have to snag a 4-pack of my go-to from
What's
Five
your go-to?
Cities. My go-to at Five Cities is Crushing on Amber. It's
Ooh,
their
okay.
Amber, which
Yeah.
would make sense, right?
Yeah,
I'm the Amber guy.
Yeah, that's fine.
And I just saw, because I was there recently, that they have them in cans.
Oh, nice.
You can buy them at the brewery. So one of these days, I'll
Well,
pick
my
up some of
go-to
that.
of Five Cities is either Swifty Hippie
Yep.
or the Good Boy
And
IPA.
we've had both on the show now.
Yep. So and now,
good stuff.
For the third time ever, we're having a Five Cities beer. So.
Yeah. In chronological order, again, you mentioned that we're probably going to be releasing this episode a ways down the road, but I mean, as of the recording of this,
That's true. Yeah.
this brewery, Five Cities, they might be our number one brewery in terms of number of beers we've had.
Yeah, it's either them or I feel like we've had a few Big Grove Brewery
Big
beers.
Grove, Millstream,
Millstream's
I think
been
we've had
up
a few.
there. Yep. All fantastic breweries and all fantastic beers so far. So I think we both like this one a lot. We will give a fully thought out live reaction, as live as you can be on a podcast that's automatically being pre-recorded for a later date anyways. We'll give you guys more of a thought on these beers. But so far, if you can get your hands on the Five Cities, really any of their beers, do it because they're
awesome.
Good.
Yep.
I think I said in our TikTok, if you don't like beer, then you're not going to like the Bulldog Blonde. But if you like beer at all, you absolutely will like the Bulldog Blonde. It's just a beer's beer. It's really good.
Great, yeah. And how fortunate are we to have such great beer right here in Iowa?
Oh, yeah. Because not every local brewery is good. There's a reason, unfortunately, they are closing down as fast as they open up. But Five Cities has been around for a little while now. I can't think of a bad beer from them that I've ever had. They do things right.
Yeah, I like it. Well, Skol.
Skol.
Well, we wanted to continue talking about the Vikings, and because we want to keep this kind of open-ended and timeless, I threw out an idea to you, and you were like, yeah, let's do it. Let's play ball. So the idea was, let's see if we can name a Viking that's worn every jersey number from 0 to 99. Mm-hmm. And let's see if we can get as far as we can. And it's not necessarily a game, because obviously for some numbers. There's a bunch of players that have worn that number. So I think we can like stop and talk about like our favorite players or the best players to wear each number. And we're probably not going to make our way all the way through the list.
No, and not in this one episode, maybe.
In one single episode, but we'll maybe make a little mini series out of this or incorporate it into some other episodes. And one other thing that we just thought would be fair to mention to folks at home is we do have a list in front of us. We're working with a list that was published on Vikings Wire, right?
Yeah, last July, so July of 2023.
So it's almost a year old, and it just lists one single Viking. I think they've named it the best Viking to wear each number. So if we do run into a little bit of a spot where we get stuck and we can't come up with a player, we will look at the list that they've provided and maybe banter off of that a little bit as well.
And I think it could be fun to kind of go through, and even if we are both, we pick, like we get to the number 84, oh man, who are we going to pick? But for whatever reason, if we get to a number, maybe we'll check this list and see what the Vikings Wire said, whoever wrote this, their opinion of the best at that number. And we can kind of say like, oh yeah, I totally agree that it was that player. Or we can be like, nope, not for me. So yeah, we're going to use that article as a tool to keep us moving.
Yep.
And you said it's kind of not a game, but it is a little game too. Because we're not going to go off this list right away. We're going to try to figure out like, who is a Viking that wore number 0? I mean, like we are going to go through all of those numbers.
Speaking of 84, a little sidetrack before we get back onto the main track here. Those little, it's not the Immaculate Grid game, but it's an outline of the player, and it has this is where they went to college. This was the team that drafted them, and this was the team that they last played for. I saw one today when I was just scrolling around a little bit. Marshall, the Vikings, the 49ers, and it was super easy.
Yeah, I wonder who that could be. Although there's probably somebody else out there that went to Marshall, or at least attended there a little bit, played for the Vikings, and then ended their career with the 40. That'd be fun to see if there's more than one.
Yeah, that would be interesting. They did include the draft year. So it was 1998 Vikings. I was like, well, duh.
Yep.
There can only be one of those.
Yep.
So anyways, it'll be a while, maybe a few episodes in this series before we
at least
get to
2 or 3.
84, but
yeah.
We'll see. We'll see how long it takes us, and we promise we won't sit here and talk for 3 hours because we both have to work tomorrow.
Yeah.
So
darn it. Yeah, we haven't gotten popular enough where this can be our job yet.
Although that's
someday. Come on, Skol hoppers, find us. We're here. We're waiting for you.
Watch, we'll release this episode and we'll have like 1 million more followers than we already do.
Hey, you present that as a problem. That'd be amazing.
Let's make it happen. We'll manifest that into existence.
Yep.
All right. Well, shall we?
Yeah. All right. So how do we want to go back and forth? Do you want to like you, me, or do we just kind of want to throw it up? Let's do you and me, or until one of us gets stuck, and then we can both kind of go, and then
all right,
we'll feel the flow. We've got it good. So am I asking you? We're starting at 0. All right.
You name the player.
Oh, okay.
0, and I'll do 1, and then you do 2. And
sure.
We'll just keep going.
Well, I think there's only been one number 0, unless there was one way, way, way back in the day. But for a long time, most of our lives, NFL players couldn't wear the number 0. It wasn't a available number for them to wear. But at the 23 season, the NFL teams can start wearing 0 again. And good old Marcus Davenport, he somehow tricked the Vikings into signing him and then getting paid an exorbitant amount for just like 4 games. So here's to Marcus Davenport being the only option at number 0. Skol.
Yeah. Again, this episode will come out a while from now, but at one point at the end of the 2023 season, I mentioned several times he's the first player that needs to go. He's the first one that needs to get the axe. We need to get him off the roster, and hopefully by the time you're listening to this, that has actually happened.
Yep.
And who knows, maybe he'll never play football again. It seems like he lost a lot of his motivation.
Yeah. I mean, maybe he's a nice dude. I don't know anything about him personally, but on the field and as a fan of my favorite team, he definitely didn't help my team out.
No.
Except for maybe the Niners or the Carolina Panthers game. I think that's where he had all of his stats for this year. So
yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
He did eat up a lot of cap space, though.
Yeah, he
that
did.
That was frustrating. All right, number 1. Now, we've previewed this list. We haven't gone through the whole list.
No, but I mean, we're at the top of the article, and there's the one number we can see. So
I'm gonna go off the list, though, if that's okay.
Yeah.
Because I don't know that the number 1 on the list is the best number 1.
At least the best Viking, maybe. I don't know. I'm interested to hear what you're saying.
So the number 1 on the list, the best Viking that they're saying, Vikings Wire, to wear the number 1 is Warren Moon.
Yeah.
And I think that's a great pick.
A Hall of Fame quarterback. It's hard to argue that.
Yep. Yeah. And you might disagree with my pick a little bit because he was involved in some heartbreak. But I think Gary Anderson.
Okay. I mean, he was number 1, right? I believe he wore number 1. He had a dominant streak, which only made that missed kick in 98 so much more heartbreaking.
He hadn't missed a kick all year.
Or the year prior.
He was incredible.
Amazing.
So I don't know. I like Gary Anderson. I have a lot of great memories. Of course, there's that one. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, sometimes that's how kickers are remembered. My dad used to say this all the time. Nobody remembers when I'm right, and when I'm wrong, nobody forgets, or something like that. And, like, that's kind of the way it is with kickers. When they're doing their job and they're making kicks, no one really remembers. We're just excited, and then they missed that one kick that we just needed him to make, and he didn't, and that's all he's remembered for. But I like to remember the better days of Gary Anderson.
Yeah, so. Not a bad pick. I'm just surprised. Personally, I'd go with Warren Moon of that number, but you're not.
He didn't play enough in Minnesota.
Sure, he
spent a lot of time elsewhere and was good elsewhere, which is also pretty typical of Vikings quarterbacks.
Yeah.
That could be a whole nother little mini series we could do. Vikings quarterbacks that have won Super Bowls with other
elsewhere,
teams.
Yeah. Brad Johnson's the first guy I can think of. Anyways.
Rich Gannon.
Oh, man. Brett Favre. We could just keep going down the list.
All right. Number 2. You're
Number
up.
2. It's my turn, and I'm sitting here with a blank on my mind. Oh, man. I wasn't going to look it up, but we're going to have to eventually. I guess technically Alexander Mattison switched to number 2 for the 23 season.
Yep.
I wouldn't say he's the best, but off the top of my head, I can't think of another player to wear number 2, and I'm sure I'm missing some crazy, awesome one. Didn't we have a punter at one point? Gary Bennett, I think his name wore number 2. Yeah, I don't know. I guess I gotta go with Alex Madison right now. But we can keep this part of the episode short. Who's number 3, Ev? Number 3.
I don't know who's number 3 on the list. I haven't looked that far, but I'm going to go with Jeff George.
Oh,
Jeff George, number 3. Now, you could say I'm talking out of both sides of my mouth because I just said Warren Moon. He didn't play that much with the Vikings, and you're going to throw out Jeff George. But, well, he's the only 3 that I can come up with. The list has Jan Stenroot.
Which I can't think I can't honestly say that I would have said that I knew he was a Viking. The picture they have, he's a Hall of Famer. He's a kicker. The picture they have, he's an old man wearing his Hall of Fame jacket, and the picture looks old. Like, it looks like there might be Mike Ditka, a young Mike Ditka.
He may have
background.
been the first or one of the first kickers for the Vikings way back in the day.
Yeah. So, yeah, sure. Maybe he is the best number 3 in the Vikings of all time, but hopefully Jordan Addison can make a statement on that in the next 10-ish years.
He's so new that I forget that he's number 3. At least at this point.
Well, and if we go back to number 2, JJ, he wore number 2 in college.
True.
And he came in the year before they started. He came into the NFL the year before the NFL started letting anybody wear any number, it seems. So I mean, that's why he's 18.
Pigeonholed into like some of those teen numbers or like 80 and up.
Yeah.
80 to 89.
Yeah, I still know what the rules were. Receivers forever could wear 10 to 19 and then
80 to 89.
89, yeah. But now the rules are wide open, and I'm for those rules. I like that guys can wear different numbers.
Well, I mean, historically, it just came down to jersey sizes. The smaller numbers were smaller jerseys, and the bigger numbers were bigger jerseys. And now that you can custom make any jersey, any size. It doesn't matter.
Yeah. All right. It's my turn. Number 4.
Number quattro.
All right. So, I mean, I'm tempted to say Brett Favre just because of the magical 1 year. But I think even though he didn't wear number 4 his entire Vikings career, and this is super recency bias, and, you know, I'm showing my age, I think I have to go with Dalvin Cook. Like, he's, you know, top 2 or 3 best Vikings running back in franchise history. Just amazing. And I think he takes a lot of pride in that number 4 too. So
he is on the list.
Yeah.
Number 4.
So yeah, I think I gotta go Dalvin Cook. I think Chris Cluey wore number 4 for a minute.
Yeah, he was pretty good.
But yeah, Dalvin Cook is better. His position's better.
I think if we're looking at, again, and this is where this list could be, like, it could go one of 2 ways. Are we looking at players that spent most of their careers in Minnesota, or players that were just really, really good all time?
Yeah.
Like, I think Brett Favre is better than Dalvin Cook.
But who's the better Viking?
That 2009 into early 2010 season, like, that was a magical season.
Absolutely. That ended in heartbreak.
It ended in more heartbreak, which is typical of most Viking seasons. But yeah, I don't know. I don't disagree with you. I think Dalvin Cook's a great pick. He's another one of those that wore a different number until the rules changed, because he was 33.
Yep.
So I don't know. It'd be interesting because we haven't really screened this whole list.
No. Yeah. And I think that's a good thing ultimately.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe some of these will show up again, or
yeah. So just to recap, number 1 we have Gary Anderson.
0, Marcus Davenport.
Oh yeah,
but he's forgettable.
He's way forgettable. He's as relevant as his number. I'm sure he's a great guy. I don't know. So 0, Marcus Davenport. 1, Gary Anderson.
You said Warren Moon. Well, the list said Warren Moon.
Yeah. 2, Alex Madison. 3, you went with
Jeff George.
I say we say our official, even if it's like, if we have a disagreement, it's whoever's picking it.
All right.
And then 4, Dalvin Cook. Who's number 5, Ev?
Oh man, I'm not prepared for this. I didn't think this far ahead. Number 5. I might have to go to the list for this one.
That's fine. I already looked. This is one that I looked at the list.
Oh, Teddy Two Gloves.
Yeah.
I can get on board with that.
I can totally get on board with that. Then you get into the argument. I mean, Teddy, he just never got a chance, really.
Yep.
And I know Chris Cluey also wore number 5. Was Chris Cluey a better punter for the Vikings than Teddy was a quarterback for the Vikings? And I think we're going to go with Teddy on this for the sake of our official list, but like, the argument's there. And I'm sure we're forgetting other guys.
Yeah, so I'm just pulling this up. Every player to wear number 5. This is also from Vikings Wire.
Okay.
I'm just going to run down the list just because it's interesting. Jalen Reagor.
Oh, man.
Ty Smith, cornerback in 2021.
2 very recent guys.
Dan Bailey, kicker for a handful of years there in the late 2020s.
Yeah.
Or 2010s.
Yeah.
Teddy. Chris Cluey, 05 to 12. I'm going to quiz you here. He played 1 season in Minnesota. It was forgettable.
Oh, yes. You know, I have his T-shirt, and I got it in college. I got it on clearance, and I worked out in it a couple of times. And I remember joking after the second workout that I had put more blood, sweat, and tears in that Donovan McNabb number 5 than he ever did for the Vikings. So
yeah, there you go.
Yep.
Donovan McNabb, Kyle Richardson, punter from 2002. Greg Davis, kicker from 97.
Yeah.
Larry Miller, quarterback 87. Kicker Mike Wood, 78.
Yeah, that number is gonna. Its Viking fame is ahead of itself, because now more receivers and running backs and stuff are going to be able to wear that number. When it's only quarterbacks available, like you're looking at a short list of guys on any team that has ever been a quarterback for your team and good enough to be talked about. So probably Teddy at this point. Honestly, you can make the case for Cluey or Dan Bailey. I forgot Bailey wore number 5. But yeah.
There you go. All right, you're 6.
Man. Well, I know who currently wears number 6, and he's almost as forgettable as Marcus Davenport. Lewis Seen. I don't know who would be the best number 6 of all time. Probably like a former quarterback. I'm tempted to see what this Vikings Wire list has as the best.
Brister.
It's Bubby Brister. Their picture of him isn't even in a Vikings uniform.
He's wearing a Broncos uniform.
And I can honestly say this is the first time I remember hearing that name. I've been an NFL fan for my entire life, so I'm sure I've heard that name, but I can't remember it. So this list has Bubby Brister. So if you're an aspiring great NFL player and you go to the Vikings, consider number 6. You can easily become the best number 6 of all time.
For sure.
Yeah.
Number 7? Is that what I'm left with here?
I figured out you're
I'm
the odds.
Yeah. Okay.
It was a difficult code to crack.
Yeah. Well, I teach English. I've never been good with numbers. Number 7.
And if we can't think of who is like obviously the greatest, then just default to if you can think of anybody to wear that number. And then if you can't, then we can go to the list.
This is where like I came up with this idea, and now I feel like I'm already like,
well, there's one that you're going to hear the name and be like, oh, of course, yeah. But
was Christian Ponder number 7?
Oh, that's not even who I was thinking of. But yes, he wore number 7.
Okay. Well, he's definitely not the best number 7.
No. You could argue that Ponder pick set the Vikings back a decade.
That was a bad pick, and yeah, his wife has had a more successful career in football than he has.
All right, that's the one you can think of?
That's all I can think of at the moment.
Fine. Mine that I figured you would immediately say is Tarvaris Jackson. You knew the name. This list apparently has Randall Cunningham. How can we?
Yeah,
we mentioned Favre, and
one.
We can't even mention Cunningham. And the two of them had a similar Vikings career.
Short-lived but electric. Included an NFC Championship game.
Mm-hmm. 2 of the closest attempts we've had as Super Bowl fans.
Yep.
In our lifetime.
Yeah.
But yeah, so probably I think having seen this, we can officially say it's Cunningham. But
yeah, let's go with Cunningham.
Sure. But
I like it.
We both thought of Ponder and Tarvaris Jackson beforehand. And Jackson being the only Super Bowl winning quarterback of the bunch. I guess I don't know about Cunningham. I believe Jackson won a Super Bowl as a member of the Seahawks.
On the bench, of course.
Of course, yeah. And rest in peace. He's been off the earth for a handful of years now.
Yeah, I do remember that. All right, number 8.
Number 8. Oh man, I wonder who I'm going to go with here.
I think I know. But.
So I've got to go Kirk. And I don't know. I'd be shocked if the list doesn't have Kirk as
He's 8.
Can't even really think of. I know. Sam Bradford wore 8 too before
That's
Kirk.
Another one that came to mind right away was Sam Bradford, and he's definitely the story of what could have been.
Oh my gosh, I feel so sad every time I think about him because he definitely gave us like his one fully healthy year with the Vikings was as good as anything Kirk has given us, and I'm a huge Kirk fan. I don't want that to come off as anything negative towards Kirk. I think. Like at the time, Bradford in his one full year of starting, he set the single season NFL record for highest completion percentage, which I think was broken the next year. He was so good. And then he played essentially one game in the next year and looked like freaking the next coming of Joe Montana. And it was so exciting, but his knees just disintegrated.
Yep. A couple of other interesting names in number 8 world for the Vikings. Ryan Longwell.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about him. He was a really good kicker for a long time. He started with the Packers, but yeah.
And then Greg Coleman.
Ooh, punter and current. I actually think he's retired from media.
But he was
a long time KFAN and Vikings Entertainment Network. Yeah, really good guy.
There's another one here that I don't know at all. Looks like he was only around for maybe a year, maybe 2. Aaron Elling. I don't know.
Is he a kicker?
0304. It doesn't say in this article. This is from Daily Norseman.
Okay.
But there's one more, number 8 on the list, and this has a really interesting connection to me. Todd Bauman.
Oh yeah, is he from Pipestone?
He's from Pipestone, Minnesota, which is, I wasn't born there, but I lived there. My parents were both kind of from there. I have a grandma that still lives there.
Can you be born in Pipestone?
Yeah, there's a hospital there.
Is there?
My dad was born in Pipestone.
Interesting. Okay. I didn't know how big or small it was. Not throwing any shade on Pipestone.
When we were living there, when I was right before I moved here to Iowa, so this would have been the mid to late 90s. I think it was like 5,000 people.
Oh, okay.
And now it's probably closer to 4, maybe slightly under 4,000.
Okay.
It's a small town, but not that small. It's got a hospital.
I think I know what you're doing right now.
What am I doing?
You can't think of a number 9, so you're delaying. You're trying to buy some time.
I am. I'm really bad at this kind of stuff.
I'm pretty sure I have a number 9.
Number 9. N'Keal Harry. Was he 9 this year? I'm way off on that.
I think he wore 16 and then even maybe also 13.
Okay. Well, that was my best guess at number 9. I'm going to cheat and look at the list.
I know who the current number 9 is, unless his contract's expiring.
Oh.
Current number 9 is Tristan
Jackson. Okay.
Who does this list have?
The one that I should have known, and I feel dumb for not knowing, is Tommy Kramer.
I wouldn't have gotten that. Obviously, I've known Tommy Kramer's name. He's a Viking quarterback, very good. I think. Did he start the only other? He's one of 2 Vikings quarterbacks to start a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
I would have guessed his number is 11, but obviously that's wrong, unless he doubled. I don't know. Anyways.
Yeah, I don't know. I do know that he's still currently second in a lot of statistical categories behind Fran Tarkenton. So, I mean, it's Fran, then Tommy, then Kirk.
And the only reason we know Tommy is because of those years where Fran got traded to the Giants.
Yep.
I believe it was Tommy's time to shine there, and he kind of did.
Yep.
The name I was going to say, and I might be wrong on this, McMahon. From the Bears? I believe he won that 85 Super Bowl with the Bears. But I know that he played for the Vikings for a minute, and I'm pretty sure he wore number 9 with both teams.
Yeah, yep. McMahon in 93. Tommy Kramer.
What's his first name? I wanted to say Jim, but that sounds wrong.
Oh, okay. Jim McMahon. Brooks Bollinger.
Oh, yeah. From that. Oh, man. Everything I've heard is Brooks Bollinger is a fantastic human being. But that era,
2006, 07?
Yeah. That era of Vikings quarterback was a dark time. That time right after Culpepper, pretty much. And really before Tarvaris Jackson. But then it was still pretty dark. And then Favre kind of broke the mold for a minute. But, yeah.
There's another kicker to wear number 9 in 96, Scott Sisson. That's kind of really before I kind of came into awareness. I was a Vikings fan at this point, but not
I kind of woke up aware. As a Vikings fan in like 01, 02.
It's my fault.
Yeah, thanks.
Why? Because when I moved here.
Why couldn't you have been a Patriots fan? That's all I'm saying. This whole time, we could have been so much more happier as people.
Well, sorry.
Okay.
Nick Mullins also wore number 9.
With the Vikings?
That's what it says. Well, in 2022, he was on the roster.
Yeah, I thought he's always been 12, though. I might be wrong. I'm okay with being wrong.
This one says every player to wear number 9. And this is also a Vikings wire. So, as a career backup, it wouldn't surprise me if he's switched
around
a little bit. But
okay.
You're up for number 10. This one should be easy.
I mean, this is a layup. Maybe the real challenge should be trying to think of a different player. But I'm pretty sure there's only ever been one player to wear the number 10.
The next several should be pretty easy.
Yeah. So, obviously, someone who I think has to be considered the best quarterback of Vikings history, with arguments for who's close and who's number 2 and who might be number 1. But this is definitely Fran Tarkenton.
Yep.
The Hall of Fame quarterback essentially changed the game. He was Mike Vick before Mike Vick was Mike Vick. Like, people touted him that, he was really good at extending plays and running around. He'd run 100 yards to throw for a 3-yard pass. Like, The guy just never let a play die. Obviously Hall of Famer. I think when he retired, he was number one in all the passing yards and definitely passing touchdowns and everything like that. Maybe in interceptions too. I don't know. Started most, if not all, of the Vikings Super Bowls. Hopefully we can change that here soon. But yeah, Fran Tarkenton has to be the best number 10 and probably the only number 10 in Vikings history. His number's retired.
Yeah, we should check that really quick, but I'm pretty sure his number is retired.
Because I know he was an original inaugural season Viking. And yeah. He had, 4-ish years with the Giants, maybe even a few more than that. So I guess the only chance anybody else could have had to wear number 10 would have been during Tarkenton's Giants years.
He played 5 years in New York.
And then I don't know how soon after Fran retired, they retired his number, but probably soon after that.
Yep, so his last season was 78, and I don't think it says when he was when his number was retired.
That feels like something you'd have to like specifically Google and then find like some random Star Tribune article, if they existed then, to point out when they officially retired it. But
yeah, but he's easily the best Vikings quarterback, and I think the debate over number 2 is between Tommy Kramer and Kirk Cousins.
Yeah, I think, and then you get in the whole era, which day and age of the game they're playing in, but I think it's got to be Kirk as number 2.
I think Kirk has, in a shorter amount of time, played better and put up better numbers than Tommy. But
all right, here you go. Non-quarterback number 11. Who is it?
Non-quarterback?
I'm just kidding.
Well, we have number 11.
Yeah.
Right behind you there.
I forget he's behind me.
Yeah. So I got to go with Dante. Yeah. I'm not even going to look at the list. I just have to go with that. Are you
sure it's not Laquan Treadwell? Are you sure?
Pretty sure. Pretty sure. I'll take Dante Culpepper every day.
Yeah, he was so fun. He was the starting quarterback when I really realized I was a fan of the Vikings.
There's a picture of us doing this at US Bank Stadium.
Yeah.
It was awesome.
Yeah, and we didn't even know that picture was happening when that happened. That was like the Vikings...
The stadium picture that they take.
That's actually kind of awesome that we were doing it at that point.
It's also on our Skol Hop website, so check that out. theskolhop.com.
Yeah. There's no disagreements right there. Number 11, I don't even care who else you could name that has worn number 11 for the Vikings. It's obviously a currently available number for people to wear. It does. Najee Thompson, I think, currently wears that number. He's the special teams ace. He got a lot of like hype in the preseason last year. Cornerback. Yeah, he's good. But yeah, Dante is the best number 11 in Vikings history.
Easily. I'm really regretting getting the odd numbers. I feel like, especially in this like under 20 era, that's not an era, but that's what I'm going to use to describe it. Yeah, the under 20 range is just really hard.
It is difficult, especially, the Vikings, they're not the oldest franchise in the NFL by any stretch of the imagination, but they've been around, almost 60 years at this point?
61.
Yeah.
Was one name.
Yeah, so over 60 years at this point they've been around. So, yeah, there's a lot of guys. I'm on number 12, right?
Yeah.
This is totally recency bias for me. I'm sure if we were,
I think I know
totally active fans for every year of all of those 60 years, my answer might be different. But I can't think of a better number 12 Viking than William Percival Harvin III.
Yep.
Percy Harvin. He's got to be, and that's who the list has. So, okay. He was, that is almost my second most what could have been Viking. The guy could do literally anything athletically. If you told me he could kick a 70-yard field goal, I'd believe it. He was just electric. Just should have won MVP in his career. I think the public eye will say that his career derailed because of his attitude and maybe he had an issue with marijuana, but like he on the field, he was a man among boys. Like he made everybody else look dumb and it was so much fun to watch. And at least the Vikings got a good return out of him because I think they got 2 first-round picks from the Seahawks plus a couple of other picks.
I don't even remember.
I think it was 2 firsts and a third, or a first and 2 thirds. Either way, it was a decent haul for a guy that clearly did not want to be in Minnesota anymore. But
yeah. One of my best memories was, it's not a specific memory, but I just remember during Percy's prime with the Vikings, we lived in a dorm in the same building, and you roomed with a guy who was a Florida fan, which is where Percy Harvin went to school. And so I remember talking about Percy Harvin that year in college all the time because we spent a lot of time together that year, living down the hall from each other, and you living with a guy that was a Florida fan, and
he
was definitely...
Percy was on a run too for the Vikings of at least offensive rookie of the year candidates. So obviously Adrian Peterson won rookie of the year in 2007 when he was drafted, and then 2009 when Percy was drafted, he won offensive rookie of the year. And then I believe it was 2012? No, it was 2013, but it was Cordero Patterson who I thought had a really good shot at offensive rookie of the year. I don't think he ended up winning. I think it was Keenan Allen that won that year. But it just kind of seemed like, oh, they're pretty good every couple of years drafting this like generational good offensive player. And say what you want about Cordero Patterson, his physical abilities have always been Harvin-like. But yeah,
it's interesting to me how he's kind of shifted from being the receiver kick returner that he was brought into the league as to now being more of a running back.
Well, I remember within the first couple of years of Cordero Patterson's Vikings career, a lot of people on Twitter, myself included, were thinking like, switch this guy to running back. Like, he had some drop issues, I think, but once you got the ball in his hands, like, talk about man among boys. Like, and not to derail, we're still talking about Percy here, but yeah, Cordero Patterson, he can totally extend his career. And I think he has by embracing the running back position. Excuse me, I'm burping right now.
I wish we could derail further because I'm going to struggle with number 13.
13, well, I think I could come up with a recent name, but I don't know if I could tell you the best. Oh,
the list has Sean Hill.
Sean Hill, he started at least a couple of games for the Vikings.
Yeah.
He started the one right after Teddy, his knee just ceased to exist anymore. And then they traded for Sam Bradford, but they traded for Bradford with like less than 7 days before the first game of the season. So Sean Hill had, the opportunity to start, and I'm pretty sure they won that game that he started. But yeah, I could see that. Hill had a couple of Vikings stints. I think he had his best time of his career as a 49er, I think.
I was going to say a Buccaneer, but maybe I'm wrong.
Maybe. I thought, and I might be mixing up, misremembering a guy or two, but I think Sean Hill had, if not a full season, maybe even 2, but a good chunk of time where he was the starting quarterback for the 49ers. I think he started for the Brett Favre, Greg Lewis miracle game. He was the 49ers starting quarterback.
Interesting.
I might be wrong. I'd put money that I'm right, though. But I could see. If there's nobody else, Sean Hill, the best Viking number 13.
I've got more number 13s here. Yeah. The newest American Idol contestant,
Blake
I think.
Prohl. Yeah, I knew he wore it.
Josh Doctson.
Oh, yeah. They had a few years where every year there seemed to be like a plug and play receiver. Insert random name receiver here. And Doctson was one. Or Dotson.
Doctson with a C, like doctor, but Doctson.
Yeah. And I think he was brought in because he had played in Washington with Kirk, and just to get a little bit of that.
Stacy Coley.
Okay. 5th, 6th, 7th round pick. Never really did too much.
Kelly Holcomb.
Yeah, another one of those Brooks Bollinger era quarterbacks. I think Holcomb had a decent run with the Bills for a minute earlier in his career.
Everybody else on this list, there's a bunch of other ones. Gino Torretta, Bucky Scribner, David Bruno, Steve Bono.
We don't talk about Bruno.
Yeah, these are all prior to our fandom.
Sure.
Pretty much.
Okay. So yeah, I think Sean Hill's probably the guy.
Yeah, that's safe to say. You get the easy ones still, though.
Number 14? Why is this not immediately easy for me?
He plays for a different team now. He was...
Oh, okay. I mean, yeah, I'm glad he's not a Viking anymore. He was pretty good. 5th round pick,
Yeah.
Stefan Diggs.
Mm-hmm. That's
obviously
what I'd go with at
the
14.
Minneapolis Miracle. You can't ever take that away from him. I'm sure that's who the list has. Yeah.
Yep.
I was thinking, didn't Joe Webb play number 14?
Yeah.
Obviously, Stefan Diggs is a better Viking than Joe Webb was, but that's for some reason Joe Webb was the first name that I had. Yeah, Stefan Diggs. That is the easy answer. I can't think of anyone. Can you think of who currently wears that number for the Vikings?
Well, let's just look.
And this might again be an easy answer here. I really can't think.
I can think of one. He's one of those that went on to win a Super Bowl with another team.
Oh man. Yeah, I'm stumped.
Really? He won a Super Bowl with the Buccaneers.
This most recent Tom Brady Buccaneers Super Bowl?
No.
Oh,
Historic.
no. Okay, so that kind of confused me because he
sorry.
was a Viking and then a Buccaneer where he won the Super Bowls and then came in and was a Viking again. So you're talking about Brad Johnson.
Yes.
I think I even said his name not too long ago on this episode.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay.
Joe Webb, yes. Diggs, yes. Sean Mannion, who has just recently retired.
Yeah, he's I think he's a Packers coaching staff member now.
Yep. Current Viking to wear 14.
I already said I'm stumped on that. The plus size punter.
Plus size punter, baby.
I still picture him as number 66. I don't know.
Didn't Kirk wear?
Yeah, it's one of our episodes, either on the website or Instagram
Is
or
Kirk
somewhere.
wearing that at
or maybe even
training
just
camp or something?
a TikTok. I have a picture of Kirk wearing that number 66. He did it for like one day.
Yeah.
I think it was right after Wright made the team, and he was told like you can't wear that number anymore. But like, so Kirk was like, all right, let's honor him a little bit. Just goes to show how good of a teammate Kirk Cousins is.
Fred Cox wore 14.
Cox. I just think of How I Met Your Mother when Marshall is trying to work through some intimate issues in his bathroom, and his dad's just pounding on the door. Yeah, you remember who the best Vikings kicker of all time was? Fred Cox.
And a little more appropriate for the kids at home out there, George Shaw. Quarterback. I think he might have been one of the first quarterbacks in
that's not a name
franchise history.
Yeah, that's not a name I remember.
1961.
Oh, yeah, that was the first year.
So, yeah.
All right, so you helped me out with that. So
I'm going to need some help on 15.
Number 15.
15.
I can think of one. I don't know if he's the best, but I can definitely think of one. I remember sitting in your basement in college when we got the official news that this number 15 signed with the Vikings.
Number 15 in my basement.
He's a wide receiver, I'll give you that.
My parents' basement.
No, your basement. This is the Franklin Street house.
Okay, that basement. All right.
And we were literally watching How I Met Your Mother with our either then or future wives. I don't know timing. Probably my then and still current. And your future.
And still current. Yeah. That's good clarification there.
Yeah. I have only been and will only be married once.
I'm stumped. I want to know.
So the name I'm thinking of is Greg Jennings.
Oh, yeah.
Former Packer.
Yeah. He's a good 15. What does the list say?
Yep.
Greg
List
Jennings.
has Greg Jennings. So I remember one of the first times I really got on the bandwagon of like, you know how every year there's always like one or two guys that are bubble guys, and you know they're not going to be, you know, major starters, but you want them to make your team because he's got a good story. I feel like there was one. He wore number 15. He was a wide receiver. Martin Nance in like the early 2000s.
Yeah, he's on this list.
Yeah. He was one of the first guys that I would like wanted to make the team because I liked his story, but obviously I don't think he ever did make the team.
One player that's on this list of all the Vikings to wear 15, and this was just last year, I think. Another Vikings Wire article that I'm just looking at here. One of my favorite plays of all time, and we've talked about this on the podcast before. But to me, this was a defining moment for Kevin O'Connell. When Kevin O'Connell became the head coach, the culture of the team shifted pretty dramatically. And this player wouldn't have made this play had Mike Zimmer still been his coach. Do you know who I'm talking about?
Oh, you're totally talking about another wide receiver, played for Iowa. Wow, what?
Yep.
This is so dumb that I can't think of his name. I know exactly who it is. He won a Super Bowl with the Chiefs last season, not the 23-24 season.
I don't even know where he is this year.
I think he played with Adam Thielen in Carolina.
Did he?
At least for a good chunk. I think he was their primary punt returner.
Okay.
Man. It's a hyphenated name.
Yep. Need some help?
Smith-Marsette.
Amir Smith-Marsette.
Yeah, there it is. Okay.
Yep. Iowa Hawkeye. So an Iowa boy. And yeah, I've talked about it on this podcast and I've said several times, the play I'm referring to was it against the Bears? I think it was against the Bears early 2022.
I know the play, and I know Smith-Marsette was involved in that play. You have the wrong Viking.
I have the wrong Viking?
You do. You do.
Oh, he was the one that the ball was ripped away from.
Yes. Right. Cam Dantzler ripped the ball away from Smith-Marsette, and
I knew he was involved.
Yeah, that was the last good thing Cam Dantzler did in a Viking uniform. Maybe the last good thing he's done in the NFL. But yeah, the wires were there. I could see the road where you were running down. But yeah, it was Smith-Marsette that fumbled.
Smith-Marsette was involved on that play. He didn't. He did fumble. The fumble will show up on his stat line. But Cam Dantzler ripped the ball out of his hands.
If you remember, and our listeners won't care, this is kind of like guys talking about their fantasy teams. But you and I, your first U.S. Bank Stadium game, Bears-Vikings, last head coaching game of Mike Zimmer's career so far. Last game Matt Nagy coached as a head coach of the Bears. The game, first half, the Vikings were down. They were going to lose. They were down multiple touchdowns, I'm pretty sure. Second half, Smith-Marsette caught like 2 touchdowns and had over 100 yards, I think all in the second half. Had a career day.
You know why? He was inspired by those ultimate Frisbee guys.
Yeah.
At halftime.
I think one of the guy that caught the crazy touchdown, he's like a Viking Twitter. I mean, he may be somebody we've interacted with, may even be somebody, and I may be speaking out of hand here. I think it's somebody who Dustin Baker knows and interacts with.
Sweet.
Yeah, I'm Dustin. I'm sorry if I'm wrong on that, but yeah, I've seen something on Twitter where the guy's like, "Yeah, that was me, the most exciting part of the game." I'm like, "No way! I was at that game. You were the most exciting part of the game."
Well, if you were that guy, you should reach out to us. We want to talk to you.
I could probably look on my Twitter and figure it out,
because that was the most exciting part of that game. But again, maybe Amir Smith-Marsette was inspired by that performance.
Yeah, he had to have been. Okay, so it's my turn, and I just did what I accused you of doing earlier. Number 16, I do have a name.
All right.
Matt Castle.
Okay.
He might be the best Viking.
I shouldn't laugh 16. At that. He was okay.
Yeah, he started a few games right before the Teddy Bridgewater era.
Ooh.
Who does
the list has Rich Gannon.
That's tough.
I feel like, didn't he wear number 12 at various points in his career too? Maybe as a Raider.
Rich Gannon is an NFL MVP, and I think it was as a Raider wearing the number 12. So yeah, I did forget about Rich Gannon. You could argue who had the better Viking career, because I think Gannon's another one of those quarterbacks who has won a Super Bowl elsewhere.
Yep. But, unfortunately.
Yeah. I'm still saying Matt Castle. You have a couple options here for number 17.
Yeah. I just cheated a little bit because I scrolled a little too far on the list. But I like this name, so I'm just going to roll with it. I like Jarius Wright.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Remember him and Greg Childs came in together?
Yeah.
And Childs just blew out both of his knees. But yeah, Jarius Wright.
Jarius Wright was a great receiver. Mm-hmm. Didn't he do some kick returning too, or punt returning?
I think punt returning a little bit. I'll never forget. It was either the preseason or early on in his rookie year. He had a savvy move as a punt returner. It was one of those where the ball was obviously punted way back into the end zone. And Jarius Wright, he ran up to like the 25-yard line knowing the ball was going to go way behind him. And he was like fake tracking this ball like he was about to catch it at the 25-yard line and baited another one of the opposing team's players to run right into him and get a penalty and get some good yards. He knew he was going to get hit. I think it was in the preseason, but I think it was Melvin. I don't know. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. But I'll never forget that he like had this savvy move where he baited somebody into hitting him and getting penalty yards. Jarius Wright was a good one. Currently, until his contract is done, because he's a pending free agent, KJ Osborne.
Yeah, he's another good one to wear 17.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, maybe arguably a better 17 when his Vikings career is over.
Maybe, but he
Jarius
always
Wright
was on the verge.
He's always been. He had to play third fiddle to JJ and Adam Thielen when Adam was around, and then Adam left before the 23 season, and then Jordan Addison was drafted, and again, KJ found himself kind of playing third fiddle, and then when JJ got hurt, we all kind of hoped that KJ would elevate himself into that 1 or 2 spot, and it didn't really happen. Brandon Powell kind of emerged, and a smattering of other players did. But
it's pretty sad that Brandon Powell took snaps away from KJ.
Yeah,
which he totally did. But and it's also kind of sad that, in my personal opinion, I'd rather them sign Brandon Powell back than KJ. More so for pricing. But so what do you think? We're on the verge of number 18. What do you think if we go through number 19 and then leave 20 on for another future one-off episode?
Yep.
All right, so I'm number 18, right?
I have a layup for number 19. I don't know.
I can't think of anybody that's worn 18 for the Vikings.
Really?
No, I'm surprised I could say that with a straight face.
Okay.
Obviously. Now, I think, and I don't know how long, maybe just like an off season or his rookie preseason, Randy Moss wore number 18 for the Vikings.
He did, yeah.
You can find a number 18 Randy Moss jersey out there. You definitely find pictures of him in it. But the clear cut and easiest answer for anybody that's ever heard of football is Mr. Justin Jefferson himself. He will go down, hopefully, if they can get him re-signed, as the best 18, one of the best Vikings of all time. He's on a Hall of Fame track. I think if he plays the same way he's been playing for the next 3-4 more years, then it almost doesn't matter what he does after that. Like, instant Hall of Famer. Best Viking on the team currently, in my opinion, and one that he will be the highest paid non-quarterback in NFL history at some point in his career. Hopefully soon.
And we've already talked about how great he is off the field, too.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's just everything that Randy Moss was on the field, JJ is plus that off the field.
Yeah.
Like, Randy Moss had a ton of off the field issues, and we haven't heard anything negative about JJ.
Mm-hmm. There is no straight cash homie scenario with JJ. Right. I mean, that whole joke with straight cash homie is he, like, Randy Moss, like,
he was
ran
fined.
Somebody over. Like, and there was a fine, and somebody in the parking lot as he was walking to his super expensive, Cadillac, whatever, Escalade, whatever it was.
How are you going to pay? Whatever.
Randy, how are you going to pay for that fine? Straight cash, homie. Like, it's fun to think about. Like, it's a funny
soundbite now, but in hindsight.
That's still, like, if something like that happened right now with any Viking player, in the moment, we'd be like, are they going to get rid of him? Like, this is horrible. Like, what the heck? JJ has only ever said the politically correct thing in front of the media. Like, he seems to be a good dude. Like, the PR department rallies around him. Like, you can tell, like, if they don't push somebody, like, if you don't see videos of this guy serving soup at, like, the Thanksgiving thing, like, maybe the PR department knows they don't need to focus on this guy. But like JJ, they always show him doing stuff. Yeah, he's without a doubt the best Viking 18 of all time.
Well, in Randy Moss, we're not to 84 yet.
No.
Randy Moss came into the league with a ton of issues already. I mean, he'd lost 2 Division I scholarships before even making his way to the NFL. And when he did make his way to the NFL, he was still dealing with stuff. He had that electric rookie season in 98 that ended in heartbreak, and he had a bunch of great seasons after that with Minnesota. And then he jumped around and played really well because he's a great athlete. But his past kind of followed him wherever he went. And I think now that he's beyond his playing years, he's had some really, really good years with ESPN. I think he's now finally past all of that, and he's really made a name for himself more as a broadcaster than he has as a player in my mind.
Yeah, I was going to say, to Randy's credit, he's not still consistently in the news for negative things. Like he is, by all, everything we can tell, a positive member of society and has gotten his life fully together, at least to the point that we don't hear about him in trouble or in any negative light. Like, Randy, again, also seems like a good dude, but JJ, and we can even go back to like Percy Harvin. I 20 minutes ago, gushed over Percy Harvin, what could have been if it wasn't for his off the field stuff. I think JJ is every bit as good, if not way better than Percy, even maybe Randy, with the extreme benefit of we have yet to have to worry about that guy off the field.
Yep.
And you never know. Something could pop up for anybody, anytime, anywhere. But, I mean, you think at this point, if he was going to be a habitual problem, something would have popped up by now. So, yeah, JJ, I'm all for JJ. Give him a lifetime contract.
Yeah, definitely. The list says it. We've said it. I don't think anybody else would argue. There's no better number 18 in Vikings history than JJ. And there's maybe some obvious recency bias there too. But I don't know. I don't know that you're going to find another better player with that number than him. And I think number 19 is pretty easy for me too.
Oh, me too. We have the same guy.
Yeah. Well, you got me his jersey as a gift, which was totally...
I still feel bad that it's a little too big, but...
No, it's great. I love it. And the next time I go to a game, guess what I'm wearing?
There you go.
I'm wearing that jersey. And I'll wear it undoubtedly before then as well. But yeah, Adam Thielen, number 19. The great thing about Adam Thielen is he is a Minnesota boy. And we're not... I'm a Minnesota boy by birth, but I'm more of an Iowa boy by longevity.
And I take pride in the state of Minnesota just because I am such a big Vikings fan.
Sure. And you're an Iowa native.
Yeah.
But like, I don't know, Iowa and Minnesota, there's kind of this like reciprocity almost where it's like we're so close and we have a lot of the same values. Maybe some political differences between Iowa and Minnesota, but
once you get out of the big cities, outside of big cities, Iowa and Minnesota think the same.
All in all, I think if Adam Thielen were to have come from an Iowa high school, like we'd be like, yes, that guy. He's one of us. And he didn't go to an Iowa high school, so we're not that crazy about him, but we're still like,
I'm still crazy about him. And I think
for the phenomenal player,
for the fact that he went to Detroit Lakes, like that's the whole bit. Like to the point that it's like, hey, did you hear Adam Thielen went to Detroit Lakes and he went undrafted? Like that's a funny bit to say, but like, I think he's even that much more loved on top of, it's not fake. It wasn't, rose colored glasses. He, at his prime, which unfortunately I think he's out of now.
Yeah, for sure.
At his prime, was undoubtedly a Pro Bowl wide receiver, an electric wide receiver, somebody that defenses had to plan around. I I roll my eyes when other, players of other teams do it, but I loved it when he would like get hit and look up and like point at the other sideline and just go nuts and like grab a ref and like, what do you mean? Like, I don't know what's going on. But like, I loved the like fire and the passion, and seems like a good dude too. Like,
there's that one infamous little scene that he had with Bill Belichick.
Yeah, and he like pointed at him or something.
And they were kind of going at each other, not physically, but just kind of pointing and talking, I'm sure. And he has that fire inside of him, and he's just that he is a competitor.
Yeah.
And you want that, and you like that, and you like that. No, you really do appreciate that in a player though. And when you get a guy like him, you hang on to him for as long as you can, and then he costs too much money and you have to send him elsewhere.
Yeah. So. And good. He had all things considered, decent season with Carolina in 23. Unfortunately, that was probably the best part of their season. But with a young rookie quarterback who's number 1 overall, and he won't be a rookie next season, but a new coach and an established veteran wide receiver, maybe Carolina can do some good things in the next couple of years.
Was Adams' deal a 1-year deal, or is he,
I believe,
a Panther for a while?
Prior to the 23 season, I believe he signed a 3-year deal for like $25-ish million. So he should be established in Carolina unless he gets to be a cap casualty or anything. But I feel like that wouldn't be the case in the second year. So he should still be set to be a Panther for at least the 24 season, if not beyond. I don't think, definitely not dollars wise, but I don't think even position group wise, it would ever make sense to bring him back to Minnesota. Although if you're looking at JJ and Jordan Addison and then nobody else behind that, like, it would be kind of nice to have an Adam Thielen again, but I think that's just a pipe dream. I hope he signs a 1-day contract and retires a Viking.
That would be special, and I think everybody in Minnesota would be on board with that too.
Yeah.
So, well, we got up to 19, which is 20.
Perfect, yeah.
20 athletes. So, yeah, we'll keep this series rolling. This was fun, and we'll definitely have to finish it off now that we've started.
Yeah.
So,
and you know what? I'll challenge our listeners. If you can think of any other Viking that is better than who we named, or maybe you just like a different Viking at a certain number than who we named. I'm pretty sure Dante came in as a rookie and wore number 12 for a little bit. Maybe maybe just in the off season.
Yeah, I have his rookie card right there. It's number 12.
And we already talked about how Randy, a similar situation, maybe even just the off season of his rookie year, wore number 18.
Yep.
Let us know if you can think of somebody who's better. Or maybe it shouldn't be Dalvin Cook. Maybe it should be Brett Favre at number 4. So let us know if you think of anything.
Or anybody we're forgetting.
Yeah.
If we didn't mention somebody that should be mentioned in the list, please, let us know.
Absolutely.
So we got to finish this beer here.
Yeah, I got a little bit left.
I got a little bit left as well.
This Bulldog Blonde Ale from 5 Cities. What'd you think?
I like it, and we've both had it before. I think we both knew what we were getting into when we cracked these open tonight. And I mean, if I only had this in my fridge, I wouldn't complain.
Oh yeah, if they outlawed every other alcohol except for this, like I mean, sure, I'd be sad that I wouldn't have IPAs again, but like, okay, I'm not too sad. Like,
this is really good.
Yeah, this is super delicious.
Yep.
And it makes me think too, like, why don't I get this more often? Like, I need to just get this more often rather than try to go outside and try some weird blueberry IPA or something. Like, I just need to get the Bulldog Blonde. Like, just start off with that and then go from there. But yeah, I like it a lot. I'll always like it. Please never change the recipe or do anything to it. It's perfect the way it is, 5 Cities.
Yep. And we like that we can get it right here.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right where we are. So good stuff.
I mean, shoot, within 15 minutes, we could probably have a fresh off the tap one if we wanted to.
Oh, easily. Yeah. Less than 15. I mean, it's just a few minutes away.
Yep.
But good beer, good conversation, one that we will definitely continue at some point.
Oh, yeah.
And we'll have to finish off the list. I mean, we got through 19, so we've got...
This was a good idea. Thanks, Ev. I had a lot of fun with this.
No, 80 more numbers?
Well, it's 20 to 99, so that's 80, yeah. Because you count 20.
Yep.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, yeah, we'll have to split that up over who knows how many episodes.
Maybe 20 numbers per episode is like the perfect.
Yeah.
Unless we have like, I don't know, a boom, 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 boom. Although I feel like the teens kind of, in some way, turned into a boom, boom.
I mean, there's a lot of really good players from 0 to 19. So, and we've been talking for...
over an hour at this point.
Over an hour. Yeah. But it's been good. And like I said, beer is good.
Yeah.
And we'll always bring you good Iowa beer and
somewhat entertaining Vikings talkers.
Exactly. That's what I was going to say.
Yep. If you have anything to say to us, how can they reach out to us? You
can find us anywhere. You can Google us, just the Skol Hop. We've got a website, and we're pretty much everywhere on social media that you can find us. And we've tried our best to set it up so that we get pinged anytime anybody interacts with us. So send us something, and we'll do our best to get back to you wherever that's at. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok,
Reddit. Everything. Yeah.
YouTube.
We don't have a MySpace. We should probably work on that.
Ooh, that would be fun. That would really bring it full circle, like back to our high school.
There's an episode right there. Who would our top 5 be as a Skol Hop MySpace?
Ooh.
Future ideas.
All right.
All right, man.
Well,
good beer. Good talker. Till next time.
Skol.
Skol.
Hey Vikings fans, Evan here from the Skol Hop, and we just wanted to say thank you again so much for listening to the Skol Hop, and we also wanted to take one more opportunity to let you know that this episode of the Skol Hop has been brought to you by Big Top Ventures. If you're considering taking an all-inclusive trip to either Mexico or Jamaica, reach out to our friends at Big Top Ventures at bigtopventuresllc@gmail.com. Once again, that's bigtopventuresllc@gmail.com. You can get the lowest rate possible on several all-inclusive resorts throughout the region. Big Top Ventures. Step right up to your next big adventure. And thanks again for listening to the Skol Hop. Skol.